Listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. Well, I'm really excited because today I've got some really cool tunes, obviously. But I'm really excited to share with you that I am loving Miriam Margolyes's book, This Much Is True. So much so that I wasn't even a quarter of the way through, and I wrote an article about it, which will be up on the Dose of Dawn later on today on the website. But, it's such a joy to read her book. She's not for everyone. I mean, come on, let's be honest. She's not for everybody, is she? She's got a sense of humour and what one would say and has been described in the book many times as a potty mouth. So I do find that quite interesting that, someone like her with that vocabulary has managed to go on and achieve great things, because it's not very, very ladylike, is it? But hey, she's done it, and she's done incredibly well. So I've got some tunes lined up today, and as always, the tunes that I've got lined up, they're going to be in line with what I'm talking about, the book that I'm writing at the moment. I've got my co-host here, Chewy, who's sat beside me, looking very demanding, as per usual. And she does want me to tickle her belly, but she's just going to have to learn that, I have to do some work. I can't just be there to, tickle her belly all the time. But there we go. We've got to get life sorted. I walk her here and we have fun. But yesterday, let's get this out of the way. Yesterday, when I was walking back, and also to everybody who tuned in yesterday between 12 and 2, you will have heard some things. You will have heard we went off air for a bit. We had a mashup of tunes. They started, they ended, because me, Dave and Colin were in the studio trying to sort out a few bits and pieces, do a bit of training. And so hopefully I'm going to get everything right today, and everything is going to be working. And hopefully Wyvern and Wayne are going to be happy, because I now know how to sort out the next show properly. And it wasn't just me. There was a technical issue. And I was like, I know I'm a brilliantly intelligent woman. I know how to do these things. And that's the thing. Some of us, we know how to do some brilliant things. But when it comes to other things, we're like, yeah, no. Like I've said before, sometimes when you're studying and you're reading, you're like, I understand every word in that sentence. But the words together in that sentence, yeah, no. I have no idea. I've got Bob open, no hope. And it could be that we get the sentences, but when they're put together in a paragraph, we're like, yeah, no, I need to read that again, maybe about 5 times. I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not. But if you've got anything that you want to share with me today, if you've got a book that you're reading, if you've been inspired by something that I say on the show today, then please do text in. It's 07354 770 837. So yes. Yesterday, on the way back from the studio, Chewy, we'd been playing stick on the way back, as we do, and she needed a bit of a rest because it was a bit warm. And this chap walked past with 2 dogs. Started to tell me how to deal with my dog. You want to get her off the path. There are cyclists. It's a footpath. Footpath. Now, we all know that I really don't like cyclists on the pavement. There are cycle lanes. Wales has a lot of cycle lanes. Cardiff has a lot of cycle lanes. But for this man to presume that he had a right to tell me how to raise my dog, when he knew nothing about me, he knew nothing about the situation, but it was his dogs that had pushed my dog also out from where she was. And I actually wondered to myself, if I'd have been a man, would he have said the same thing? That's the question. Anyway, kudos to him. We know Dawny likes to be a little bit cheeky. So, like I said, I've got some really cool tunes lined up. But speaking of manners, because that is about his manners, isn't it? There was something that I was reading last night. It's on page 182 of This Much Is True. And it was in the chapter of going on stage, a masterclass of sorts. And Miriam writes, mobile phones ringing and buzzing and beeping are another hazard. It's disgraceful that people are allowed to bring them into the auditorium in the first place. They should be obliged to hand them into the cloakroom. And then she goes on about when she was playing Madame Morrible in Wicked, you know, how people were using their phones. And you can see, I mean, if any of you have been to the theatre, you will be able to see, you know, even if you're not on stage, the glow of other people's phone. You're in the theatre, switch off your phone. Even if you're in the cinema, switch off your phone. If you're in a meeting, switch off your phone. Put it on Do Not Disturb if you have to. But she then goes on to talk about how actors are trying to create a little world for those on stage and for the audience in a theatre. We have a pact not to tear down the walls of the little room that we've built for each other. And I thought, how lovely is that? You know, that it is, isn't it? When you walk into a theatre, it's like a little cocoon. It's just you and the actors and all the technical people. And, you know, everybody has put so much effort into learning lines, into stage direction, clothing, makeup, costume, clothing and costume, you know, and you know, all the props that have been made for this show. And I just find that when people don't respect that, that's just really, seriously, what happened? Did you drag yourself up? And then she does go on to say that we've forgotten how to behave in a theatre. Maybe some people talk all the way through whatever they're watching in their own home and they don't realise how much it impinges on others when they do it in public. The excitement of being in a space with other people all experiencing the same moment is the magic of theatre. And talking kills the magic. Well, I'm hoping that talking does not kill the magic here on today's show. But yeah, and but this is the thing, when people are chomping in the theatre on the suites, or you know, when you go to the cinema and you can just hear them slopping their mouth around when they're eating. I mean, it's bad enough when you're sat somewhere. I mean, if you were listening in a couple of weeks ago, you will have heard me talking about the chap that sat opposite me on the train. I was like, really, seriously, I've seen toddlers eat better. Close your mouth when you're eating, please. Or do as the Italians and the Arabs do. Put the food to the side and learn how to talk properly. So that's Dawny's little rant for today. Turn off your phone, have some respect for others. And if you've got a child with one of those really annoying little iPads, give them a pair of headphones. I don't want to hear all of those whiny, and neither does anybody else. We don't want to hear what they're listening to. We really don't. I know your little darling is the apple of your eye and the centre of your world, but not ours. Oh, I'm really pushing it this morning, aren't I? But I'm in the process, as you heard last week, I'm in the process of rewriting Crossing the Line. And, just reviewing it, because it is a parenting book. It is about taking on Police Scotland and winning twice. And the book got voted in the top 3 books on Goodreads for parenting, which some people have said to me, but why would you rewrite the book? I said, I'm not rewriting the book. I'm just filling in the gaps of knowledge that some of my readers have. Questions that they have for me as a writer. And I think this is one of the really important things for us as writers, that we actually listen to the feedback we're given, either by our editors or by our readers, by publishers, if you're being published by others, unless you're publishing yourself. Don't listen to your friends. Please don't listen to your friend's opinion or your mum's opinion of your book. Get a professional opinion. Even if they are professionals within the publishing world, get somebody else's opinion. Seriously, please do that. Do yourself a favour. Do your book a favour, and do the rest of us readers a favour. There was one book, oh my goodness gracious, I read that when I was in Canada after I'd just done just before I was about to embark on the coast to coast rail journey, following some of the human trafficking routes. And I read this book also on parenting. And goodness gracious, like, that wasn't even the first draft. If that were, this had been highly polished, and this lady had been trying to convince me to use the person who had edited her book. Now, some of my editors have got so engrossed in the story that I've written that they've actually forgotten that they're editing. So some of my books, they are going to go through another edit. And editing costs money. Editing takes time, and it's got to be done right. And it's always good to revisit your books. It doesn't matter how well they've done. But one of the things that has made me realise that, when I was talking about, the children at the tables and, it just reminded me of how indulgent we are with our children, and how that my style of parenting, no wonder that it got some frowns. And if you haven't read Crossing the Line, I was arrested, and they tried to charge me. Well, they did charge me, but they didn't convict me of willful neglect and abandonment of my children, because I went to check the cost of a family ticket. But that we turned out it was all more to do with racism and sexism and Islamophobia. And the fact that, taking your children on a wild camping trip, preparing them for the Duke of Edinburgh Award as a single mum with children of different ethnicities, not a very good idea. Not a very good idea. But it just tells you that when you're going back over your book, you can revisiting your writing style and what happened, and these are some of the things that you put behind you, and it's made me realise what a crazy world we live in. Now, I'm going to try and I'm going to play a song. I'm not going to say it's one of my favourites, because we all know that I've got lots of favourites. It's like being a grandparent and having lots of grandchildren. They're all your favourites. Or doing a Brucey. Now, I actually did meet Bruce Forsyth. He taught me how to play golf, but I'll tell you about that after I have worked out whether I'm going to get this right. So here we go. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so crazy. There's some lyrics in that tune that, when I was going through the situation with Police Scotland, I was just like, I know that I've not broken any laws. I know how to assess the dangers. When you've travelled the world and you've lived through the Egyptian uprising and, different things like that, and you've studied cultural cohesion and like different demographics and, society, and you've helped regenerate certain regions of the UK, you kind of know the things to look for and whether it's a safe environment. And one of the things that we addressed in the book was, if it's not okay for a parent on their own to go and check the price of a ticket, why is it okay? What do we do when we arrive at a service station in the middle of the night, we're on a road trip, the kids are asleep in the back of the car, fast asleep, you're on your own. Are you allowed to get out and fill the car up with fuel and then go in and pay? Or go to the toilet and get yourself a coffee to perk yourself up a bit? If you're not allowed to do one, you're not allowed to do any of it. And again, I was in Inverary. If you've ever been to Inverary, you'll know it's not exactly Glasgow city centre. And this is one of the things that, made the whole event crazy. And this is why the book did really well, because I actually showed a lot of the hypocrisies in the world of parenting. And my boys have, I've taught them to be street smart as well as book smart and home smart. My boys have been cooking roast dinners and spaghetti bolognese since they were like 5. Like, I taught them, because if mum is ill, I used to get really serious migraines, and their dad worked overseas and been travelling backwards and forwards, and they needed to know how to cook, right? It's an everyday skill that every person needs. Yesterday, one of my neighbours, Henry, thank you Henry, told me that you could get mashed potatoes frozen. Like, seriously, frozen mashed potatoes. Like this, I'm from I'm from the Fens, okay? I'm from Potato Land. You know, I couldn't be more, you know, like the Irish if I tried. And you do not freeze you do not freeze mashed potatoes. You boil the potatoes, and once you've got them parboiled, you add a little bit of milk or a little bit of oil or butter, depending on how healthy you want to be, and you mash them with some salt. And if you want them extra smooth, you get your blender out and you whip them up. Now, I'm not going to let you know which brand I use, but, like, seriously. And I couldn't believe it. And he took, like, we went over to the Cardiff Food Centre, and he showed me in the freezer all of these foods that came in frozen form. And then he was getting some baked beans because he was having jacket potato with cheese and beans. Classic, favourite, you know. Gosh, who doesn't like a bit of jacket potatoes with cheese and beans? But you could get frozen jacket potatoes. And I'm like, if you paid an extra £1.50, you could get a sack of potatoes from your local farmer. And I was baffled. Now, I know this probably sounds like I'm quite la-di-da, but bear in mind, I grew up in farming country. So if I wanted veg, I used to either go into the garden, my granddad's garden, or, you know, when my dad got a little bit more time, he grew his green beans and, you know, like a few bits and bobs. But I was surrounded by farms, like, growing the vegetables that I would eat. And yes, there was a time when, you know, I jumped over the back garden gate and I got some asparagus from the farm. And, you know, the farmer then caught me up in the village a couple of days later and he goes, "Oh, I've got something for you. You forgot." I was like, "What?" And he goes, "You forgot these the other day when you cleared the fence." That was, you know, and he handed me more asparagus. I love asparagus. Oh my God, who doesn't like asparagus? Some people cook it really badly though, really, really badly. I'm not going to go into a cooking show, that's for later. But again, it's like, I'm baffled at the, you know, I must live in an alternative universe because the amount of people that don't read and the amount of people that use, like, frozen mashed potato. Mashed potatoes are one of those things that if you've had one of those days, or if you've had an annoying email or something like that, something's not gone quite right, you can take that frustration out on those potatoes. And we live in a different world, like, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, shout out to Henry for educating me on the foods that people eat, but I really can't call some of them foods because they're not foods. I mean, I read the ingredients of, you know, like if ever I have to buy something that's not growing out of the ground or swimming in the sea or flying in the sky or, you know, walking around in a field, like, I'm proper country girl. And maybe I love reading so much because where I grew up, there wasn't much to do. You know, you either got up and, like, did your paper round first thing in the morning, or you worked on the farm. You went and did that, and then you'd go to school. You'd come home, you'd do your homework, you'd hang around the fields, you'd go climb haystacks and go climb trees. That's the kind of life I grew up with, and surrounded by natural foods. I was like, wow, education. I mean, of course I knew that peas, like marrowfat and mushy peas, Yorkshire caviar, shout out to all the Yorkshire folk, mushy peas are Yorkshire caviar. Yeah, sorry, it just reminded me of a very dear friend who passed away a year ago, and she was from Yorkshire. And I remember the first time I found out about Yorkshire caviar. Anne Brady, absolutely love you, my darling. I'm not going to cry because I know she'd tell me to put my big girl pants on. But it was it was Derek, her husband, who gave me this copy of Miriam Margoyles's book, and was also a writer, an editor and a publisher. So we had lots of good fun together. But this book has really challenged me in quite a lot of ways, especially the beginning, when Miriam is talking about her time in Oxford. And I used to live in Oxford, so I know a lot of the places that she's referring to. And one of the things that she says in her book that I was reading last night as well, because I always read before I go to sleep, that she would go away and she would learn her lines and she would take that time for herself. Now, most of my books, I've taken myself away to write them. You know, to switch off from absolutely everybody. I don't have notifications on anyway. But I take myself away, especially some of the books, the books in the sequel series. They're really harsh books for me to write because I'm sharing other people's stories. And it's really challenging because one of the things I have to do is I have to look at, because I have to protect the identity of of all the people, I have to find the culture around the world that best reflects the person's native home. And that can be quite challenging. So when I was writing, which one should we say? When I was writing Alpha, that was a really harsh book for me to write. But I had to find a place in the world where things like blood diamonds and female genital mutilation was going on. But again, it's in a certain part of the world, and I had to switch it up and have to do a lot of research into the countries, look at the similarities, and have to write the books in that way. So when you're writing that kind of thing, you're really deep in the research, you're in that releasing that trauma from your body, even though it's not your own trauma. And this is why when I do a manuscript assessment for someone, I'm always looking at how we do not traumatize or re-traumatize the reader. And a lot of people, they either make the books too vanilla so that the reader is not so it's too vanilla. A lot of publishers are just too vanilla. I like a bit of rum and raisin in my books, not actually the ice cream in the books, on the books. I don't even like writing in the books. When people ask me to sign the books, it really grates me. I'm a legal tabs and write on a post-it note in the book with lots of just, with a notebook beside it. I'm not like Elif Shafak and Margaret Atwood, who will be writing in the margins and underlining, unless it's a textbook, unless I'm studying, unless it's a study book. But if it's a book that I'm reading for pleasure or for work, I will put lots of legal tabs and post-it notes in there. But no. But when Miriam was saying about when she would go away and she would learn all these lines, I really, really resonated with that. Even though she was reading the lines that somebody else had written, we sometimes do need to go and have that hideaway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song shortly after the ads. But the ads are going to come on now, and then I'm going to play a song. I've probably given you a clue as to what it is, but here we go. Right, there you go. That was Kaiser. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. That song was created in just under an hour. I mean, amazing that she could do that. Then some people find it really incredible that I've written some of my books in under a week. 50,000 words. But this is one of the reasons why we go away. This is one of the reasons why Miriam goes away by a week by herself, really smashes out, does her memorization, does her practice. I go away and I just read by myself and I write by myself, because when you're looking at all that research in front of you, it can get overwhelming. You have to really break it down. And if you've got the dog, or you've got the kids, or you've got a partner, or you've got family or work, writing. But some people are really trying to juggle work and writing, because unless you writing doesn't always pay very, very well, and you have to build a side hustle. Not everybody's going to do a J.K. Rowling and make millions overnight, and she really didn't make that. The reason why she made a lot of money is not just because she was relentless in applying, but she wrote something brilliant and she timed it perfectly, and there was a lot of merchandise around it, and she created a business around it. she still shows up and she promoted her books. And a lot of writers, they don't do that. They write the book for the pleasure of it, and then they don't pay attention to the business side of things. They don't put themselves out there. They don't build the additional revenue streams. And that's one of the reasons why so many writers struggle. And it's so sad. And it's one of the whole reasons why I set up my business, was because it was I had been running businesses for 30 years. I knew about entrepreneurship. I'd mentored lots of people, and I knew that if I was going to sit and write books, there's a lot of research that needs to be done. There's a lot of time writing where you're not actually making any money. So you need Swiss money, sales whilst I sleep soundly. And you need that money coming in regardless of whether you are showing up or not. And sometimes you get to a point where you're like, okay, do I have the time to write this book? And you end up messing with the mojo of the book. And we do need solitude a lot of the time to write. Now, some people say that that's a privilege, but like a lot of things in life, if you want something bad enough, you'll do whatever you can to make it happen. And you will, gather that support circle around you. It's not just a privilege to do it. I saw something about, I think it was, I can't remember the author actually. I posted it on my LinkedIn business profile. Well, I didn't, my team did. And he was being berated that, of course, he had the pleasure. His wife was taking care of the family, and of course he got the opportunity to go and write away from everything. Well, that's one of the benefits of choosing the right partner. Simon Squibb, I mean, if you haven't heard of Simon Squibb and you're in the business world, then, where have you been? But he talks about how he chose the right partner, because when you choose the right partner, they're going to support you. They're going to be the ones that champion you, whether you're male or female, And yes, it has been predominantly women supporting men to build their careers, but we're still seeing it where men are earning a lot more money than women. So that has to change. And but not getting political, we're not allowed to be political on this show, especially with the elections coming up. We can't say anything like that, so don't expect me to. I have to even be careful what I'm putting on my socials. Honestly, becoming a radio show host is really quite interesting. Things I can and cannot talk about, things I can, and I mean, seriously, people that know me like, Dawn, you're not going to talk about that. I'm like, yeah. But again, it's like when you choose your friends carefully and you choose your colleagues, or you choose your family, it's so important that you choose wisely. Who is it that's going to help you become that very, very best version of self? Who's going to help you achieve the life that you've always wanted? And if the people that are around you are not going to help you do that, why have you chosen to stay around them? Why are you choosing to stay in a job that doesn't reward you for being the very best version of self? There's this story about a guy who worked in a toll booth. I think I shared it with you at the very beginning of my journey here with Radio Cardiff. How, sometimes there goes times during the day where they know that it's quiet time. There's not a lot of traffic. So he would take his study materials and he would be studying for his uni. And, it was but he would also dance because he was also sitting down a lot. And it became this thing. So whenever there was, and there was videos of it all at the time, I can't remember. I remember seeing like this row of toll booths, and of the American roads are really, really wide. But he took the time to study, and whenever he'd passed an exam, all of the other people on the toll booth, they would be ringing their bells when they heard that he'd passed an exam. Whether he was on shift or not, that is support. And it was just so great that the people who employed him actually allowed him to study while he's sitting there in his quiet time. How many employers will do that? Anyway, back to literature. Obviously, that is literature because they were studying. But again, that quiet time, and I haven't been sleeping very well this last couple of days because I don't know whether it's the memories that have come back whilst writing this book, or other things that are going on in my life at the moment. But sometimes, you, as a writer, you wake up at what I call stupid o'clock in the morning, and it's like you just have to write something down. There have been times when I have gotten up in the middle of the night, switched on my laptop, written something, closed it and gone back to bed, and then I've woken up in the next morning. I've completely forgotten that I've written something, and I've gone to the laptop the next morning, opened it, ready to write, and I've gone, huh? When did I do that? And I look at the time and it's been like 3 o'clock in the morning. Completely downloaded from the consciousness. Brilliant, pure brilliance. And this is why I always say to people, if you're going to write something, write before you consume, create before you consume. Create your plan for the day, create your intentions for the day. Don't look at your phone. Don't switch on the TV or read the newspapers or read anything else. If you haven't got a Chewy who demands that you take her out for the toilets, but where I live, people will see me in my big black coat a lot in the morning because I'm still in my pajamas when I'm taking Chewy out. And thank you to everybody who doesn't judge me on that. Gosh, such a glamorous life. But it's like, just don't think about engaging with anyone. Just journal, get everything down, get all your thoughts down, your intentions down, your plans down, because it just sets your day up differently. It really, really does, and it's such a powerful thing. And at night time, have a really conscious nighttime routine. Now, a lot of people, they say, I don't know how you read at night, Dawn. And I'm like, well, it kind of just calms the day down. It just really puts obviously, if you're reading, inspiring content, about business, I wouldn't recommend doing that at night. Read about somebody's life that is inspiring. Don't read business strategy, because if you're anything like me and you're reading business strategy books, then you'll be up planning all night. And that's never a good idea. Because, and I'm going to play a tune now, and it is a classic. Well, it's a classic for people of my age, and of my genre of music. Just when I found out how old this tune was, I was absolutely shocked, because it's just wrong that this song is, well, it's not a song, it's a tune. But we end up, as writers, waking up at all times, and readers as well. And it's one of the reasons why I use Tropic skincare, because the face masks of Tropic, they're really natural. And if you're anything like me, you like reading with a face mask on, and you can read just one more chapter, which turns into another chapter, and you can end up with a face mask on your face for like an hour, 2 hours, and you go, oh my god, I've still got the face mask on. You can't actually move your face, but you can read as many chapters as you like, and we end up just reading and then getting up at, maybe a couple of hours later. And it reminds me of how back in my rave days, you'd rave all night, get up and go to work the next day, and you'd be smashing it, and then you'd sleep when you got back. And now it's like, I read all night, I write all night, and I still get up and I perform the next day. How do I do that? I have no idea. But this next tune, I'm just checking the time, this next tune will give a nod to that, and I'm hoping that you will enjoy it. It's one of my favourites anyway. Here we go. And I know there are some of you listening to that, and you started doing the arms in the air as you're driving along, or dance around the kitchen, or doing whatever it is. And I feel you, honestly, And when I was actually looking for the radio edition of that, because obviously the remix and the way it's been mixed, when we used to go out and listen to it, proper, in the dark with the lasers and hot, sweaty people all around us. Oh my God, such great times. Just taking myself back in the day. when I first heard the lyrics to that, like all the, I was just like, oh, I didn't even know it said that. Oh, and that's the thing. This whole journey of looking for radio edits instead of, it really makes me listen to the lyrics. It's a real journey. Because obviously there might be children listening, children that are homeschooled, children that are off sick, but also there are standards. This might be a community radio, but we still have standards here at Radio Cardiff, thank you. But yeah, and listening to those lyrics, I was like, you know, it just resonates, because sometimes you're like, I've just got to write this down. And the things that are ruminating in your mind, if you are somebody who does suffer from insomnia, and mine is pretty much self-inflicted, you know, in the fact that being a writer, being a reader, being a raver from the days, and, you know, being a business person who's really relentless and wants to be the best version of myself at all times. But there are some people that suffer from insomnia for a whole host of other reasons. And one of the things that looking at bibliotherapy is writing down those things that are in your mind, you know, getting that journal, getting everything out of your head, writing it down, and writing down and reframing everything. So if you are having some really negative thoughts, write them down and then write that as a positive. And keep doing that. Really, really flip the switch. You know, if things are not going so great, remember that where your attention goes, energy flows. So if you're focusing on, let's say, not having enough money, which is something that does keep people awake, obviously the root cause of it is very different. But if you haven't got the money, don't focus on not having the money. Focus on, okay, the money is coming. And ask, you know, I mean, some of you might find this a bit woo-woo. Never go to bed without a request to your subconscious. Whether it is the asking a question, what is it that I need to show up and create tomorrow? What is it that I'm here to do this week? What is my purpose, or what is the one thing I need to do tomorrow? Who has got my money? Because one of the things that I learned years and years ago when I worked on my own money story, because I grew up in working class, as I said, family, farmers, and mum worked in 7-Eleven, and so money was scarce, and I had a lot of work to do on my money story. You know, how could I go and charge that much money, you know, for the hours work that I do, or for, you know, a month work, you know, and how could I attract this salary? And a lot of it is your deep money story, and, you know, not feeling worthy. And it's like, who has got my money? And plan the party. And this is something that I've always said to a lot of my clients is, if you want to get ahead in life and you want to live a certain lifestyle, plan the party. Look at it as a party. Your life is a party. You only get to go to this party once. If you want to live a certain lifestyle, write down everything that you want, find out how much that is going to how much the investment for that. I'm not going to call it a cost, because a cost is a lack of sleep. Lack of sleep costs you energy. A lack of exercise costs you your health. They're the real costs in life. But how much is the investment in your life? How much is it that you're going to need to invest in the life that you want? And then where do you need to be, and how much do you need to receive? Not how much do you need to make or how much do you need to earn. How much do you need to receive? Again, all of these words, when we understand the power of words, we understand them on a very different energetic level. Now, some people, as we've said before, think that all this energy work is a bit too woo-woo, but, you know, Einstein worked with energy. No one will call him woo-woo. So there. That's all I've got to say on that matter. So we've done insomnia. We've had a bit of crazy. We've done a bit of hiding away. And we are coming up to the top of the hour, where I'm going to be going into the news and the next lot of ads. But But what are you listening to? Sorry, what are you reading? Obviously, hopefully you're listening to me. Well, if you're hearing this, you are listening to me. I think I'm going a bit crazy. I need some sleep. But if you want to let me know what it is you're reading, then please do text in on 07354 770 837. And if you would love to be a guest on show and you want to come in here and you want to talk to me about the books or that you're writing or books that you're reading at the moment, then please do let me know. If you're a business here in Cardiff, you've got a business and you want to come in, you want to discuss the books that you're reading that have really helped you get ahead, then come in and let me know. If you're somebody who is in academia and you want to come and share, what it is that people need to do, that, to get on to a course, or, you're studying journalism, come and talk to me. It's that number again is 07354 770 837. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll find me under Dawn Bates FRSA. Now I put FRSA, Fellowship of the Royal Society of Arts, because there's quite a few Dawn Bateses out there. As I found out, because lots of people think I've written a book about dogs. I haven't. And there was a very big publisher who actually created a Goodreads profile with all of my books added to one of their authors. Took me a while to get my books back on Goodreads. Very naughty publisher. Obviously thought of me as a threat. That's okay. I don't mind. But yes, I'm feeling quite mischievous today, aren't I? Which is always good. We like being a bit cheeky and a little bit mischievous. Now, I'm actually putting the next lot of ads in, and I'm going to let you know what's coming up afterwards, because I want to go deeper into so kind of the impact that we want to have when we're writers, and like, for example, when I was talking about the impact Miriam's book had on me, not even a quarter of the way through, and an article that I've written, and it should be up on A Dose of Dawn on my website, which is dawnbates.com. If you go to that, you'll see down the side you've got writers, readers, and all the way down, and then you'll see A Dose of Dawn on the left hand side. And I did just hesitate then, because I was about to say portside. But no, it's left-hand side. And White Knight, we did okay. We didn't win the yacht racing on Sunday. We had some serious wins, and I tell you what, my body on Monday. Tuesday was slightly worse, so I went to the sauna. I didn't get to go to the sauna on Sunday night after we got back, because little lady, that's here with me in the studio today, she's been very quiet today. She just needed cuddles from mummy, because we were out quite a bit, and she needed to relieve herself. But yeah, 1 minute and 22 seconds was all that was in the difference between first and third place. We had, I think it was about 27 knots of wind on average. So you can those of you who sail, you can imagine we had some nice waves. It was quite choppy and quite a few waves, and there was a moment, and Neil's going to hate me for this, but I actually had my back to the bow because I saw a wave coming. Neil didn't see it, and Neil got it full in the face. So yeah, that was a bit of a chuckle moment, but it was quite hairy at times. There was once when my knee locked out, and I was like, I can't move, and I'm down there by the water, should be up on the rails, on the winch, but my knee locks out. Oh, honestly, this aging malarkey, I'm not sure I quite like it, but I'm going to take you over onto the news now, and then you'll be going into the ads. So, oh dear, sailing, I gotta love it, absolutely do love it. So here we go, here's the news. Oh, the voices in my head. Honestly, if some people heard the voices in my head. Because, even though I write non-fiction, there is... you have to play out. And when you're writing kind of memoir-based books or autobiographical books, or you're helping other people, you have to not only remember what people have said, but the tonality that they've said it with. And when I'm reading client manuscripts, I have to think, okay, what is the reader thinking of this? What is the writer trying to convey? What on the PR companies, what are the press, what are the news channels, and there's so many voices that are there. And yesterday we were looking at providing people with advice on the kind of thing they need to be thinking about when they're writing a book, or whether it's a book or a song, or and you're pitching it to an agent, or whether it's a movie script or whatever it is. You've got to look at all of that, the additional things that you need to be writing. It's one of the reasons why we created the Author Essentials, because as I said, a lot of authors, they just think, I'm just going to write a book and get a publisher. Well, have you written your bio? Have you written the 350 character, not word, character description, and the 4,000 character description? Do you know how to maximize the metadata and the thema data and all of these additional things? And so I created all of these author essentials. The people that have been getting, they're like, oh my God, I never even thought that I needed these. And when you're creating your author profile and you're there, you really do have to consider all of the voices that are going to be reading your bio and your blurb. And writing a blurb, for those of us who write books, people who write jingles, oh my God, they're so talented. 100,000 words does not faze me. A 350 character description of my book for a product catalog, or the blurb, that's really hard. That is a whole other skill level. So hence why that had to go into the Author Essentials. But again, it's like when I look at a book, I was quite disappointed that when you pick up a paperback and all you've got on the back of the book are reviews. I don't want to read a review. I don't know who half those people are anyway. I don't care what they think about the book. I want to know what's inside. Now, obviously, when you're buying a hardback book, you'll find the blurb on the inside cover. Maybe it's at the front. You tend to have the blurb on the front inside sleeve. And then on the back cover, you'll tend to have a little bit about the author. But stop putting reviews of your book on the back of your book. As a reader, the most important person when it comes to books, because we're writing for the reader. We are maybe writing to purge or get our ideas, or to make money, or to have that asset in business, or but it's the reader who is the most important person in the whole journey. And if all I've got is people's reviews on the back of your book, I'm not going to pick it up. I really am not. It really needs to be, if I'm going to buy that book and it's got loads of reviews on the back or comments on the back by people who I don't even know, and if it's got certain publications on it, I'm like, yeah, that's not my vibe. Yeah. People are getting more into the ego of publishing a book and writing a book than they are in the actual journey of literature, and we really need to address that. And I am going to be coming on to that in another show. But today is all about, looking at the space that you need as a reader and as a writer, and the journey that you're on. Like I said, rewriting, or not rewriting, editing the second edition of Crossing the Line. Yeah, it's brought up a lot. It really has. And this is the thing about writing. When you, like I said, if you do have insomnia, or you've got these voices in your head for a different reason, ignore the haters. When you've got haters, you're doing something right, because people that are achieving and going on to great things, they are going to be annoying the people who are not doing any of that. People who are doing really great things never have the time to hate on other people. So if you've got haters, well done. Celebrate it. Honestly, really do celebrate that, because that shows you're doing something right. Because when we're writing a book, like I said, the reader is the most important person in the whole process. Your book has to, as they say, TMI them, touch, move and inspire them. It really has to get into it has to get under their skin, like Miriam has done with me. Like, I mean, I can't really talk about the things that have really got to me at the beginning of her book. And if you have read it, please do message the show on 07354 770 835. And if you are on LinkedIn, do make sure that you connect with me. I posted this morning on LinkedIn that I would be covering the book. So if you go there and you comment on there, I don't know if I'll be able to get it while I'm on the radio, but yeah, it'd be great to continue the conversation. But the things at the beginning of the book, those of you who've been following me for a while and following my articles on LinkedIn and on the Dose of Dawn, you'll probably have some idea of why I can't talk about some of the things that she mentions in there. But one of the things that she does do, and she does love Cardiff, and so I'm going to see if I can get her on the show. That would be amazing. But one of the things that she does is she names a lot of people. And one of the first rules any editor will tell you, and I'm surprised that she's got away with it, but I'm not surprised because she's Miriam Margoyles and they wanted to do her book. But she just names so many people that they have no relevance. Some of them you'll know the names, but all of the names of her school friends, names of her teachers, names of, neighbours and, people that she's met along her way. Any editor will tell you there's too many. People don't want to know the names. For example, if you're a first-time writer, don't add lots and lots of names of your friends and family unless they are really key to the story. Because if they are absolutely key to the story, then yes, mention them. But if they're a side person, don't mention them. It's just, they've got to have something pivotal to the story. And the other mistake a lot of writers make is they want to thank everybody. They want to include all of their friends in the book. And it really takes away from the reading of it. Now, there were a lot of names, but Miriam got away with it because she's Miriam. And what I'm seeing in the publishing world, and this is probably not going to make me any friends, but I don't care, is that there's so much, should we say, lip service of a certain region of the body, where, if there's a celebrity, the publishers or the editors, the buyers are falling over themselves to get that person's book, and they will not question what the person is writing. And it's just like, really, seriously, stop it. This is not about you getting the book and making the most amount of profit in it. It's about the reader. Come back to the reader. Because without the readers, there's no point writing the book, unless the book is for your family, obviously, but then they're still reading it. And I know that obviously being business people, we have to make sure that the business is, profitable, the business stays alive and what have you. But the rules of writing do still apply. And some people, when they've read some of my clients' books and they've read some of my books, they're like, the language. I'm like, yes. Like, well, you allowed people to curse in the book. I'm like, yeah, it's their natural voice. You can hear Miriam in this book. You can, and I'm almost like hearing her belly laugh, and I can see her eyes, the way she does them, and like the way she purses her lips, and you can see and feel her cheekiness. You can see her giving you the look, that parenting look, the ones that my sons got used to. Like, they knew where the line was because I just look at them. I never had to say anything to them. Going back to parenting, you don't need to shout at your kids. If you're shouting at your kids, then it's you that's out of control. Because remember, if you're shouting at your kids, what are they going to do? How are they going to know it's any different when you're crossing a road and a lorry's coming or a car is coming really quickly and is about to hit them? If they're so used to you shouting at them as a way of raising awareness of a danger, it's not going to make any difference. But if you shout and in a moment when they're not used to you shouting, then they pay attention. children don't need to be shouted at. And if you're shouting at your kids, you've already lost control. So I'm just going to say that. But the whole thing about Miriam's journey through childhood and some of the individuals that she came across, I just imagine her looking back on her life. I really want to talk to her. I so want to talk to her about this, because I just, the whole warmth of her comes through in this book. And on the back of the hardback version of her, there's a picture of her gasping, and then there's one giving her the stare, and then there's giving her what's going on kind of look on face, and then there's the one of her in the nun's habit where she's just looking at really seriously what the heck is going on with that. And she's just such a beautiful character who's been through huge amounts. And the bit that really got to me was how she felt about a revelation of coming out to her parents and the impact it had on her mum. But you can't not love that face on the front of the book. I mean, she's just a delight. Stephen Fry does say that there is no one on earth quite so wonderful, but then he'd be biased. But there isn't, is there really? Well, other than myself. I have to say that, because we don't pick ourselves up. Then, like my mum used to say, if you're not going to blow your own trumpet, then who else is going to? Oh, I do love myself. But I'm going to play a song now. And again, when I found out how old this tune was, I was like, oh my God, it's not that old. It really isn't that old. This is the radio edition, obviously, that I'm about to play. I am paying attention to the time. But this, as I said, every book has to touch you. It has to move you. It has to make you want to read more. And it's got to touch you in all the right places. So this is Touch Me by Rua da Silva and Cassandra. Yes, tune. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, do love that tune. Oh, like when I play these tunes, I remember like the first time I heard them drop, whether it was at Dance Paradise, Dreamscape, Sanctuary, what was that? Helter Skelter, or like Pleasure Island or Die Hard or wherever it was. Like seriously, when these tunes, I was like, and I remember that one when we came out of Passion in Colville. Some of the car park parties I've had in my time. Seriously, if you want to know more about my rave days, you need to go and read my first book, Friday Bridge. In fact, actually, when I wrote that book, I remember walking into Die Hard, and Dave, who ran Die Hard Dave, he'd read it. He goes, I can't believe you wrote all that in there, Dawn. I'm like, why? He goes, because I can't. I'm like, look, I know where I'm going with my career. I know who I am. But I also know that there are some people around me that are going to see my success in the future that are going to want to bring me down. So it's better that I own my narrative now and actually own who I am and put it out there, rather than have someone go, I know Dawn from her raving days. And I'm like, yeah, I've written about it in my book. Off you go and read it. And this is another reason why some people write the books. And this is, when I'm reading This Much Is True by Miriam, I'm on first name terms with her. I don't know whether she knows that or not, but I really absolutely am. She's just adorable. Anyway, I'm girl crushing here. But it feels like she's got to that age. I mean, we've already know that she really doesn't care. I mean, she does. She cares so deeply. And this is something that really does come across in this book. She cares so deeply about people, and she cares about things that are just. And she's got so much respect for other people, but also for herself, which is amazing. And, it feels that she's got to this point in life. She goes, I've got to get this all out now. I'm not taking this to the grave with me. And it feels like a purge. And it's a real ownership of everything that she's been through. And she is absolutely just... I parts of me just want to hug her. Some parts of me just want to hold her and go, oh my God, I'm sorry you went through that. And let's just say Major Harding. That's all I'm going to say. That it's in the article that I've written. I've addressed that issue. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. But she is just... can you tell? I'm a bit lost for words, and this is me. I'm a writer. I'm never lost for words. I've been on radio and stage and TV for, I'm never lost for words. But yeah, she's quite a special being. Is our Miriam. I'm claiming her as ours now. And in fact, actually, that just reminded me, there was a guy that I used to go raving with. His name was Simon. And for years, he'd talk about our kid. And I remember saying to him, I know, about 18 months after knowing him, I'm like, when are we going to meet your child? He goes, what? And he looked really, really shocked. I was like, well, you keep referring to our kid. And he just burst out laughing at me. And I was like, what? He was like, you've not lived up north very long, have you, Dawn? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, our kid is my brother. And I was like, really? And it really... And this is one of the things that I love about regional accents and phrases and sayings. And something that Miriam addresses in the book is how her mother was such a social climber, and the vocabulary and the way in which she would speak, and how she didn't want to be associated with certain things, and how they'd come from different parts of the, her father's from Glasgow, and her mother didn't want her to speak like a Glaswegian or a Ouija. And she talks about the snobbery in Oxford, which made me laugh because, like I said, I used to live in Oxford. Like, just some of the things that she's talking about. It's like when I read Jeremy Clarkson's books. Oh my gosh, that man. Like, I could not stop reading his books. I would be walking down the street reading his books. I'd be, like, wherever I went, and I absolutely smashed them all the way, like, from start, like, all the way through the series. And I laughed, and there were times when I was crying. Now, I don't always agree with his politics. But I absolutely loved Clarkson's Farm. And one of the things that I've been doing since I've come back into Britain... Oh, yeah. So last night, I have to address this. Miriam wrote in there that Barbara Windsor had died. I was like, what? When? And this is the thing about travelling. Especially when you're living in a different continent, the news that you miss and the aspects of society that you miss, like, you all had a very different COVID here in Britain to the one that I had in Latin America. And so when I read that Barbara Windsor had died, I was like, when? How? Like, what? I mean, I was really quite upset when the Dowager, Maggie Smith, passed. And, oh, God, I can't, but it's things like that when you're reading, I was just really shocked. Got really quite taken aback. I was like, I remember in the Carry On films. The Carry On films were just brilliant. I mean, that might not be very politically correct for some people to quite like. I mean, I thought they were brilliant. But like, I was shocked that Barbara had. I see first name times with Barbara at Windsor as well. But yeah, just shocked, and it's quite stumped me. So I think I'm going to go and play the ads, because they've got to be on every half an hour. I'm going to gather myself and prepare the next tune as well. But yeah, completely blown away by that news. Anyway, here are the ads. Shut up, Dawn. Goodness gracious. You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM. Right, so now I think I've composed myself. Again, books teach you a lot about the world. But there's a lot of news that I missed while I lived overseas. Yeah. And this is the thing, there are some books. I remember when I lived in Colombia, I went to a place called Villa de Ava. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I know I'm not, and I do apologise to any of the Colombians that are listening. My Spanish is getting really bad. I really need to go back to Latin America. My Portuguese is almost non-existent, so I've got to go back to Brazil. Oh, I just love Brazil. Love Brazil. But anyway, I was in Villa de Ava, and there was this. I was walking over the bridge. I just walked around the square, and if you know this region of Colombia, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, just Google it. There was this. I was walking over the bridge, and I was like, I just feel like, and I felt myself being called to turn around. So as I turned around, there was this like little shop, and it was like just serving coffee. So I was like, oh yeah, I could fancy a coffee. It was also getting to lunchtime, so I thought, let's see if there's like a little snack in there. And I'd been wanting The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I'd been wanting this in English for a while, because my Spanish wasn't that great that I could read it in Spanish. I was still like grade 5-6-year-old reading ability. I knew the words, but pronunciation and making them all make sense, and with the grammar and everything. So I'd been wanting this book since I left the Tenerife when I used to live there, and then I sailed across the Atlantic and then made my way all the way up through South America into Colombia, and I just felt myself like being nudged to turn around again, and there was Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, in English. It really was the right time for me to read that book. I'm absolutely telling you. And it was about really getting present in the moment. So I know that sometimes when I go off on a thread, I've got an idea and I'm going to talk about it, and then I get distracted, like I just did with the Barbara Windsor. I could beat myself up about that. It could come across as, it's a bit unprofessional. She's not really doing the radio. But that's the power of live radio. That is about the power of living in the now. Now, I've always said that worrying is praying for bad things to happen. It doesn't stop a lot of us from worrying it, and even though I know these things and I say these things, these affirmations, worrying is praying for bad things to happen. So stop worrying. You can't control what's going to happen. You can only control how you respond to it. And I know these are all quite cliche, but they're cliche for a reason. That these kind of things work, and they're being quite noisy out in the corridor today. I don't know what they're up to. I'm surprised that Chewy's not done her little watch. I was going to say watchman thing, but she's not male, is she? She's female. And yeah, again, slightly off tangent. Whenever anyone sees Chewy with one of her big sticks, they always think that she's male. No. Women can do these things. Female dogs can carry a stick. And I know that Chewy, she's quite a small dog, but some of the branches that she tends to pick up, those of you who have seen her, you'll see that sometimes it is a branch 3 times longer than her. She can only just get her mouth around it, and it still does have leaves on the end of it. She's absolutely loved these high winds, I'm telling you. But unlike us on the boat, because the high winds have cancelled far too many races. Honestly, I really do. I love sailing so much. It's just great. And this is the thing about work, my kind of work. I can work from wherever. And again, going back to planning your party of life by design. If there is something that you want to do in life and there's something that you really want to achieve, design your life around that. You know, I know that Reese Witherspoon says chase your talents, not your dreams, because everybody's got dreams. But, you know, I'm a great cook. I mean, I went to college to learn how to be a chef and a hotel manager, because I knew that running a hotel and a kitchen was akin to running a business. I didn't want to do business studies. I wanted to learn how to be a really great chef because I love food, and that was one of the great things about traveling around the world. You know, I got to eat loads of different foods. I got to learn about so many different cultures and ingredients and how to use them differently. And it reminds me of Michael McIntyre. He's got this sketch when he talks about the spices. And he talks about all the spices that don't get used in his cupboard. And I'm like, well, I use those almost daily. So perhaps there might be something coming there from Dawn, but I don't have a cookbook yet. I'm not a baker. You know, those people that can't follow the rules. Yeah, we're not bakers. But one of the chapter that I'm coming up to in Miriam's book, again, first name terms, with the fabulous lady herself, is when a play goes wrong. Now, I wanted to address this before I read the chapter, because obviously I don't know what's coming because I've not read it. But when a book goes wrong, there are times when I have deleted tens of thousands of words at once. I remember when I lived in the jungle of Costa Rica. I was in the... we had this lodge. It sounds really fancy. It really wasn't. It was proper jungle, rustic. Built together with pretty much a prayer. If you're going to do the jungle, you know. Oh, snakes. I got over spiders. I got over showering with scorpions. I still cannot get over snakes. My youngest son, Nasser, absolutely loves snakes. Thinks about getting one. I'm like, that'll be the last time I come and visit you. Nuh-uh. No. No, thank you. Oh, yuck. But when I lived in the jungle, I was writing Faith, Leaving Religion to Save Your Soul. And it was a story about a young man that I'd met. And it was his story, not mine. Although when you read it, and there was just something that just wasn't fitting, because, as I said, when I write the stories in the Sacral series, they are other people's stories, and I have to do this research where I'm looking at, okay, where are the parallels? How can I protect his identity by giving him either an ethnicity or a nationality that is so similar to the one that he already has, but still protects them. So it was a bit challenging, but it really wasn't, because I knew the story inside out, but it just wasn't gelling. And I remember I'd got my tunes on, and I was dancing around the dining room, and then it just started raining. And I was like, oh, sod this. And I went out, because where the lodge was, there was this big grass field where like all the men used to come and play football, and all the women used to stop everything. That was a Diet Coke break. But it wasn't Diet Coke for me. I don't drink Coke. I don't drink anything like that. Oh my God, I'd be high forever. Like, seriously. My friends, when I used to go out raving, they used to be like, let's get Dawn high on Haribo. Do not buy me Haribo. Do not let me have Moams, because I get hyper on sugar. So, because I don't have it. But when I have it, let's go raving. I chose to go and dance on this field in the rain. It was tropical rain. It was good. You know, there I am in my Daisy Dukes, my bikini top with my headphones on, and I'm just dancing, and it's pouring down with rain. And I was just like, you've just got to delete those words. That was what was going through my head while I was dancing. And then after, I must have been out there dancing for about, half an hour, like proper having a rave to myself on this grass field. Went back into the lodge, opened up my laptop again, and just deleted nearly 30,000 words. without a second thought. Now, to some people, that's like, what? But when you consider that when I'm in writing mode, that I can write, well, when I'm in proper full on, like completely, I've gone away to my little hideaway, I've got all my research, I've had all these sleepless nights, and I'm there and I'm writing, I can smash out between 11 and 15,000 words in a day, depending on how much of it is a divine, what I call the unconscious, the conscious unconscious creation process. It's like where you're just in that stream of consciousness where you're just writing, you're not even thinking about it, you are conscious, but it's just a stream of unconsciousness. So it's a stream of oh god, I'm getting really tongue-tied this one. You're conscious, but the stream of writing is coming from your unconscious. So when I'm in that space, and I do teach people how to get into that space, when I'm in that, I don't even have to think. It is just pure channeling of the content. So that's when I can write about 11 to 15,000 words a day. On average, when I'm writing, it is, I could smash out, 1,500 words in half an hour. And that was before I had, my brain injury with the CPTSD and everything. And now it's been really challenging for me, like rebuilding myself, and getting back into the mojo of writing, because at the beginning of last year I was lucky if I could string maybe 200 words together in writing. I really struggled bringing out my last book, Owning Our Ovaries, which all the royalties for that currently go to endometriosis. So if you support endometriosis, do go to my website and purchase Owning Our Ovaries. You will help with the research. But one of the things I want to play is a song, because whenever we write our books, we want to make sure that they are right, which is why deleting 15,000 words is sometimes necessary. Deleting 30,000 words is absolutely necessary. Deleting the whole thing is sometimes really necessary. So we want you to love it, and I'm going to play a song here. It's by Sunheat, and it is called You're Gonna Love It. So here we go. I'm going to play that for you right now. Yes. Hopefully you are going to love it. Whatever it is that you're going to make of your life, or your book and your reader's book and the next book that you get to choose. Now, I am going to play one more tune before I leave today, and I really hope that you've enjoyed today's show and me fangirling over Miriam, and sharing with you what I've learned so far with her book. And like I said, my first article regarding this book is going to be up on the Dose of Dawn later on today, on that's dawnbates.com. But this next song, when we are writing, now sometimes I can write with music on, as I just said, when I was dancing around with the jungle, I had my tunes on. When I'm reading, if I'm on a train, I play music, which is music for reading, which is just instrumental, like, whether it's piano, harp, or mainly classical instruments. But sometimes we just need pure silence. Now, some of you will know which song I'm going to play now. Some of you won't. But that's okay. But it is something that, again, this tune is just, those of you who have already figured out, like, the kind of person I am, like the vibe that I had, and you've been listening carefully, you'll know that, being an old raver, this next tune is going to be, it's such a classic. And that's what we want with our books. We want our books to be evergreen. We want them to resonate with people at any time that, Miriam wrote this book for like 5 years ago. And it might not be a new book, and it might have been talked about by lots of other people. But when people talk about it 5-6 years later, that means there's going to be more sales, or, it's still relevant. And that's what you want. If you're writing a book and it's only relevant for now, like if you're writing about technology or business system, or you're writing about something that's just happening now, you're dating your book. You're making it irrelevant in a lot of ways. And it's going to just gather dust in some box somewhere. When you're writing a book, make sure that you're making it as evergreen as possible. And if you need some help, then, I'm here. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for, to make great books and to read great books. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling now. I'm going to play this next song, and then we're going to go into the news and weather, and then we've got Wyburn and Wayne. Now I'm pretty sure I'm going to nail it this week, so hopefully it'll be a nice, easy transition into their show. And I do apologise to both Wyburn and Wayne for the mess I've made of their other shows the last few weeks, being back in the studio. Like I said, it wasn't just me. There were some issues with the system, and that's the thing when you're on live radio and you're community radio. You can't have dead air, but you also got to make sure that the tech is keeping going and what have you. And those of us who know, we have to reboot our system sometimes, and not just our laptops. But this next song is an absolute classic. Oh God, I'm really excited about hitting play on this one. But this is Silence, and this is Delirium. So for those of you who know it, welcome back to sanity. Oh my God, it's such a good tune. Oh, tune. Now, the reason why, when you write all the stuff that's in your head, like just to wrap up today's show, like all those, the voices in your head, the insomnia, when you get all of that out, or when you write a book that's been in you for ages that you've been putting off and off and off and off, because there's lots of people that talk about writing a book. Very few actually go on to write it, and even fewer go on to publish. And then those who do publish, very few of those actually go on to make a success out of it. So but when you get that story, whatever that is, out of you, you will gain peace. And you just can't hold it all in. Again, listen to the lyrics of the songs, and it's like the rage in you subsides. Like if there is something like a social injustice, because this is where it's like sometimes I get so cross when I hear about certain things and attitudes and what have you that are going on in the world, that this is one of the reasons why I highlight it, because I am very political, and I know that a lot of the things that I've read and the things I've lived through, and my ability to read those high level things, I want to translate that. I want to actually alchemize that into something that my dad would read. I mean, he only reads carp fishing magazines, so there is a reason why I write the books. I want to make things accessible for people, make them human, and when I'm writing or when I'm journaling, I just feel that level of calmness. Now, I really don't want to pick up on the lyric where it says about the white wave and where you're sinking, because after Sunday's race, I don't want to be sinking in a ship. I've already been overboard in a storm. It's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit hesitant every now and then when I am actually on a boat. And if you ever see me, my front teeth are not my teeth, they are crowns, double crown obviously, being the queen that I am. Apparently I don't know about that, that's for you guys to decide. But white waves, I'm sinking. Sometimes you can be sinking in all of that white noise in your head. So get it out. Whatever it is that you want to say, whatever it is that you want to write, whatever it is that you want to feel, get it out of you. Get it down on paper. And if it is a book that's been in you for a while, then make sure that you write it. And then if it's, please make sure that you believe in yourself, regardless of anything else that goes on. Just believe in yourself and believe that you're here for a reason, and you're perfectly imperfect just the way that you are. And I'm going to continue reading Miriam's book, and I will be back next week, no doubt, with an update on it, because I'm only about halfway through. I'm surprised I'm only this way through, but I am reading a few other books at the moment for business, and so obviously I'm writing my own book, so Lots of books, lots of books, lots of books. Anyway, it's coming up to the news. Thank you all so much for listening. And remember, if you're on LinkedIn, come and find me. If you're on the Instagram or on Bookface, do come and find me and give me a follow. And if you want to come on the show, let me know. All right then, well, you have a really great weekend. I hope those tunes have set you up, and I'm going to just leave you. And here is the news and weather. Ciao for now.